Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Arirang News Break. I'm Han-daeun in Seoul. It's quite a big day here in Korea as the two-day early voting period kicked off to give citizens who'll be unable to make it to the polls on the actual April 13th election day the chance to vote. For more, let's connect to our Kim Ji-yeon standing by at one of the more unique polling stations at Incheon International Airport. Ji-yeon, have you seen many people casting their ballots so far?
Yes, I have, Todd, and currently there are about 10 to 20 people waiting in line to vote. This early voting period is a first for a general election in Korea. Around 1.4 million people, or 3.3% of eligible voters, had cast their ballots at one of the 3,511 polling stations as of 2 p.m. this afternoon. It's the first time for the country to ever set up a polling station in the Incheon International Airport, the country's main gateway. It's also been set up at Seoul Station and Yongsan Station, the capital city, and community centers nationwide. I'll have more updates for you in later newscasts.
Well, it looks like many people at the airport have already cast their ballots, and news is trickling in that voter turnout so far has been greater than expected. So it's good to see a lot of people exercising their right to vote. Thank you, Jen, for that report. Now, when Koreans head to polls, they will get two ballots, one to vote for their district representative and one to vote for a party. Now, the latter will determine how many proportional representatives each party will get in the National Assembly. Shin Se-min has a breakdown of how things are looking for the parties on that front.
A total of 300 lawmakers will be elected, with 253 of them selected through constituency elections and the remaining 47 allocated through proportional representation. Proportional representatives are awarded to the parties based on the number of votes they get. But to be eligible, a party has to get more than 3% of the vote, or more than 5 of its candidates have to be elected. This year, there are 21 parties running, resulting in one of the longest ballots ever printed. The 158 candidates in contention for proportional representative seats generally have not held office before, but come from a wide variety of backgrounds and reflect a party's vision. They have been nominated and ranked by the party, with the higher numbers given priority once the number of seats has been determined. The ruling Saenuri Party currently has the most proportional representatives, with 27, and the main opposition Minju Party of Korea has 20. And the previously collected polling data shows that those numbers aren't likely to change much after the upcoming election. Polling company Realmeter made some predictions of how many proportional representatives each party will get based on the party's approval ratings in the week of March 28th to 30th. Its projections show the ruling Saenuri Party garnering 20 seats based on its approval rating of 37.7%, the Minju Party getting 14 with its 25.2% approval rating, the People's Party getting 8, and the Justice Party 5. A similar survey done by Gallup based on ratings from March 29th to 31st projects a similar outcome, with Saenuri Party taking 23 seats, the Minju Party getting 13, the People's Party 8, and the Justice Party 3. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
After her trip to North America, President Park Geun-hye got back to her drive of revitalizing the nation's economy. Continuing her checkup on recently established creative economy innovation centers, the president visited the branch in Korea's central Chungcheongbuk-do province, a center which specializes in the bio and beauty sectors. In addition to learning about the center's progress over the past year, President Park also attended the launch of employment zones at the center. The recruiting centers will focus on job creation for the youth by matching job seekers with startups located within the innovation centers. She then visited the Jeollabuk-do branch specializing in agriculture and carbon fiber. The two centers so far have supported the launch and production of over 100 startups and small companies respectively. Over the last few days, several blacklisted North Korean individuals and companies have been implicated in the Panama Papers. This has raised questions over whether U.S. and international sanctions against rogue states and groups are effective in curbing their illicit activities. Kwon Jang-ho has more.
33 individuals and companies blacklisted by the US government have so far been identified in the Panama Papers using offshore accounts for their financial activities. According to the BBC, who have direct access to the documents, they are said to include groups from Iran, Zimbabwe and North Korea. By setting up a maze of anonymous shell companies, they have been able to avoid detection and circumvent any restrictions placed on them. The revelations have called into question the effectiveness of international sanctions, as the US has increasingly looked to use sanctions as a means to penalize states such as Iran and Cuba, as well as extremist groups like Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. After North Korea's nuclear test and rocket launch earlier this year, the US again passed a series of new sanctions on the regime and pushed the UN to pass a new resolution. But it looks like new penalties need to be developed for the international community to effectively pressure North Korea and other rogue states. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
The Korean economy is showing signs of recovery. That's the assessment by the country's finance ministry, which says the economy is rebounding slowly from a slump earlier in the year. Recent data show that industrial output rose over 3% on month in February, marking the highest rise in over 6 years. Card transactions, which indicate retail sales, also posted a double-digit growth rate. As for exports, the ministry noted that despite another fall in March, the pace of decline has significantly slowed. However, the finance ministry said that external risks, such as a slowdown in the global economy, could also weigh on the local economy. The ministry vowed to carry out economic tasks, including structural reform and job creation, to facilitate solid economic recovery. And that does it for Arirang News Break, but stay tuned for more news throughout the day.